Hi guys, welcome to ESI's The Clutch 2020 Summer Edition, coming to you digitally, which is fun for all of us. So I'm Helen Gammons. I am part of HSBC Private Bank and I head up our media and entertainment section and basically help our investors invest into all of the new and upcoming media trends that we're seeing going on, and esports at the moment is one of our biggest themes. So with me today, I've got the very good looking Spike Laurie, who you'll see on camera soon, sort of sporting the hairstyle of Sideshow Mel from The Simpsons, and the gorgeous French tones from Matthieu Dallon as well. So Spike, as you know, has an amazing fund called Hiro Capital and has managed to do, I think, is that right? 6 awesome investments into the esports industry. And
That's
we've
correct.
also
Thank you.
Dallon as well, who has been investing for the last 10 years into all sorts of sports and now esports sectors. And so we're all hungry, I think, to find some new companies. So guys, what are you looking forward to today? What do you want to see from all of our contestants?
Thanks, Helen. Well, I think, I'm excited to see the guys pitch today. I'm going to have to defer a little bit, I think, to Matt and his expertise because he looks at a lot earlier stage companies than I normally would, I think. But I'm excited to see what our sort of young entrepreneurs have got to show and see how they present themselves.
What are you looking for, Matthieu?
Yeah, pretty the same thing. In fact, I'm looking to meet entrepreneur with a passion and also a vision about what could be sports in 5 or 10 years, and that are preparing the industry to grow and to be sustainable one day. So we are looking to invest in that kind of startup that will be one of the chain of sustainability of this ecosystem in the future. And so that's why we're mostly investing in early stage startups.
Can't wait to get cracking.
So are we ready to who's first? I think is it Ben and Juke?
I think so. I think they're just being counted in now as we speak.
Great.
There we go.
Hi everybody. How's it going?
Hi Ben.
Hi Ben.
All right. So I guess I'll just jump right into it if I've got my cues correct. Hi everybody. My name is Ben Goldhaber. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Juke.gg, and we're building the new home for esports fans. My co-founder and Chris and I have more than a decade of experience each working in esports and have had the pleasure of playing some key roles in the industry as it's blossomed over the last 10 years. I was on the founding team at Twitch in 2011 and ran esports partnerships during Twitch's first pivotal years through the Amazon acquisition in 2014. And Chris has created some of the most popular independent talk shows, podcasts, and apps in esports, including shows like Unfiltered and Value Town. These days, I don't really have to explain esports' meteoric ride to any investors, much less this panel. We all know that esports has grown exponentially over the last 10 years and is expected to reach more than 500 million total viewers in 2020 alone. But this awesome milestone, while this milestone is awesome, esports still suffers from a systemic problem, and that's fragmentation. The esports ecosystem is fragmented by nature, and as esports has grown, this problem has only become worse. See, in traditional sports, the path to becoming a fan and following your favorite teams is pretty simple. You have local team infrastructure, TV channels dedicated to 24/7 coverage, and apps and services like Bleacher Report and ESPN to stay up to date on tournament results and news. In esports, however, that path is far, far less clear. Seriously, how do esports fans today follow their favorite games, teams, and players? I seriously challenge each of you to answer this question in your heads because I think you'll come up with different answers. The truth is, there really is no good way. Most esports fans are only able to stay up to date by staying glued to social media and actively seeking out this information by crawling across innumerable community sites and subreddits. We think this is a drag on the overall growth of esports, making it both difficult for existing fans to stay engaged and, crucially, making it a perilous path to becoming a fan of esports in the first place. This is the problem we decided to tackle when we first launched Juke last September. So how do we solve this problem with Juke? On Juke, we're breaking down barriers to make it easy to enjoy the top tournaments from every major esport by centralizing the most important information and content into a single hub for the very first time. We feature match results, scores, stats, the latest news, player profiles, original content, and more for 35 esports games. We're embedding live streams and video on demand from Twitch and YouTube natively into our platform. And our match reminders and notification system makes it so you'll never miss a moment from the teams and games you care about. Over the next 12 months, we're launching out game-changing new products and features, including social functionality, fantasy esports, mobile apps, and so much more. Since we launched less than a year ago, our user base has grown by an average of 78% month over month. And we're now actually about to hit 50,000 monthly active users this month, and we still have a couple weeks left. Our users are actually spending 90 minutes per day on average on the site. So our registered users are highly, highly engaged. And this growth has been almost entirely organic. We've barely spent any money on marketing. But this is just the beginning. We believe that anyone who plays an esports game has the potential to become an esports fan. And so the total audience for Juke shouldn't be measured in tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. We think there's 1 billion plus potential esports fans out there that can benefit from Juke. By creating the best one-stop destination for esports fans, we think we're in prime position to be the place where those people go to learn about esports and expand their passion. So how does Juke become a venture scale opportunity? Well, first, we're building a premium subscription model that allows the most hardcore fans to access additional exclusive content and features. We know that esports fans want to see their games and communities grow, so we're giving part of the cost of every subscription back to grassroots esports tournament organizers to help fund their prize pool and production costs. Second, fantasy esports is rapidly gaining in popularity as well as in acceptance, not just in Europe, but throughout the US and the rest of the world. And it's an undeniable opportunity for us. With a captive audience of millions and millions of users, we'll partner with esports fantasy platforms as well as building our own pick'ems and paid competitions. Third, we'll have insights and data on esports fan that cuts across esports fan behavior on streaming platforms and social media, and those will be invaluable to brands and publishers in the space. Our goal is to get to profitability in 2023 with 200,000 paying users as a B2C model and 15 million in ARR. Last year, we raised our pre-seed round led by world-class investors, including names like Mike Morheim, Stuart Alsop, who was a lead investor in Justin TV's Series A and also held a board seat at Twitch, the co-founders of MyFitnessPal, the accelerator 500 Startups, as well as other prominent tech investors. And we're now raising a $2 million seed round, looking for partners who can help lead our round as well as help us scale as we move quickly towards building an esports media empire. Please reach out if you're interested. We'd love to get in touch.
Cool. Thank you so much for that, Ben. I think just went over on time, but we'll allow it.
Okay.
Mike, would you like to kick off the questions?
Maybe.
I can't hear Spike right now.
Okay. Can you hear me or no?
I can hear Matthieu.
Okay. Yeah, I have a question then. Thank you very much for the presentation. Yeah. But about the subscription, you mentioned that exclusive content could be provided in the future because now you are more like a hub gathering information coming from other providers. What kind of exclusive content do you have in mind, and how is it? Is it video live streams? Is it rights that you will negotiate, for example, with a tournament organizer? Okay, can you talk about this?
Yeah, don't expect to be acquiring rights to any tournament broadcasts. I think obviously in most cases you want to have as broad an audience as possible for an esports tournament. So for us, when we're thinking about the exclusive content that's behind a paywall, we're going to be working with the best writers in esports and the best content creators in esports to create original written content, articles, as well as video content. So, we look at analogies in traditional sports like Bleacher Report Live, and the shows that they're producing that are behind a paywall, as well as shows that are happening over on ESPN Plus. We think that that's a pretty close analogy to the kinds of things that we want to create. So fun content that you can't get anywhere else, that's going to be highly produced and be very, very different from what you're seeing today in esports. That's the type of content that we do want to put behind a paywall. There will also be features that are behind a paywall. So our users are clamoring for more. I hear you now, Spike. Our fans are clamoring for more customization options, and that's another aspect of the subscription model.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry about that. I had a Bluetooth driver that went rogue, so apologies for that, Ben. And thanks for pushing on. Matt, do you have any other questions that you wanted to ask Ben? Otherwise, I'm happy to jump in.
It's okay.
Ben, firstly, congratulations on your success so far. The MAU numbers look particularly strong, and I know that you've been sort of at this for a while, so and put a lot of hard work in. So well done for that. What I think one of the questions that I have is around defensibility. I noticed, I'm sure a few other people did, that I think Twitch have tried to launch something similar recently, perhaps a nod to Juke, perhaps not. Just wondering what you thought about what keeps you guys ahead of the curve and relevant and engaging users, and stopping someone much bigger coming along and bringing out the same functionality?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something we do hear quite a lot. Twitch did launch their esports directory a couple of months ago, but if you look at the feature set that we offer compared to what you're seeing on any other platform, we're really miles ahead today. Not only do we have the broadcast and schedules and a great VOD system, the ability to follow your favorite teams and players and games, we also have the brackets and standings and scores and stats all in one place. We've recently launched news on our platform as well. So if you go to juke.gg today, you're going to start to see articles from every major publication, as well as our own original written content. So, I think when it comes to Twitch in particular, they're focused primarily or only solely on really the video experience. And we're offering not just this additional context, but additional media as well that complements those broadcasts and complements those esports. So fans really only need to come to one place. In terms of defensibility, I think we have a pretty big lead, but that doesn't stop necessarily a major media company from coming in the space. But for us, when we think about defensibility, that's when we're getting really, really excited about some of the more social functionality and gamification that we're building into the platform. So one of the features we're working on right now that we're super excited about is essentially building pick'ems into Juke directly, so that when you're watching an esports broadcast, there will be interactive features that, and as well as a social component. So you'll see what everyone else is picking, and you'll be able to compete on leaderboards, things like that. We're also working really hard on getting user profiles out there, so you can see who your favorite teams are, who your favorite players are, how much of each esport you've watched, and really show off your fandom that way. You'll also have ratings based on your pick'em. So when we think about defensibility, it's that social and network effect that I think are going to give us that for the long term.
Sounds great, Ben. Can I jump in with a quick cheeky finance question then?
Go for it.
So you're raising between 1.5 and 2 million in this current round. And I can see that the use of funds, 73% is going on salaries, whereas only 16% on marketing, 7% on ops, and 4% on tech. That's a very low spend percentage on company enhancing features. Can you tell us why that is, and why not sort of go down sort of share of equity options with your staff?
Yeah, I mean, salaries for us are going to unlock a lot. I mean, our marketing spend is low. I think for a company like us, like we have platform aspects to Juke, but it's in the end, it resembles a media company. So we can't go out there and spend a bunch of money to acquire a bunch of users. At least not yet. The economics of that don't necessarily make a ton of sense. So we'd rather put that money towards salary. So first of all, we can accelerate the development of our platform, but also start spinning up our own original content. We think that that's a much more effective way for us to use our funds rather than going out and buying a bunch of ads on Facebook or Google or Instagram. So when we think about where this money is going towards, it's building out our apps, which is a whole big project. It's getting monetization into the platform, and it's spinning up original talk shows, written content, and a whole lot more when it comes to video content. So that's why we're kind of leaning less into marketing spend and more into building out that content team. I think for us, we're also able to keep our costs really, really low on the platform side, because we're not necessarily hosting any of our own video content. We're leveraging these platforms like Twitch and YouTube. Even when we do produce our own original content, there will be a lot of free content as well. We don't necessarily have to pay outrageous server costs to do this. So generally, we're able to stay lean and really focus on building in the team for now.
I think you've proven the concept with the aggregation of events. And I understand that you want to bring in a monetization tool, the subscription model, which, am I right in thinking that's where the content is going to be, and that's where some of the content you're creating is going to live behind that pay gate? But
yes,
have you validated that, or is that really just trying to solve another problem of it's hard to monetize the base platform, and so you've created a subscription to solve the problem of monetization, but in order to solve that problem, you need to put something behind the subscription, which is going to be content. So it's almost a derivative of the original idea.
Yeah, well, there's kind of three separate aspects to our subscription model. One is the original content that we plan to produce. Another are features that are going to go behind a paywall. There's some really central features that a lot of our users are asking about, and we've literally gotten message saying, "Are you going to build this? I would totally pay for this." And then the last aspect is that community support model. So, if you look at Twitch as an example, millions and millions and millions of users on Twitch are paying $5 a month for a channel subscription. And why do they do that? It's not really for the emoticons that you get or the chat badge that you get. It's because those people want to support their favorite creators. And we're leveraging a similar concept with our subscription model. I think for us, we've been really, really excited to work with grassroots esports ecosystems and grassroots esports tournament organizers. And we want to give some of this subscription revenue back. So for us, I think, it's true. Spike, you're 100% correct. It's the esports audience is not being monetized properly. It's very difficult right now, given that all this content is free. So we have to create a lot of value through our original content, through the features that are going to be behind a paywall. But for us, it's also, I would say, almost equally as important to create a notion of, if you're subscribing on Juke, your funds are actually going back into the ecosystem and helping to support the esports that you love. So that's definitely a big part of it for us as well.
Thanks. Matt, anything else from you? Otherwise, I don't know how we're doing for time.
Yeah, just maybe a last question about on the technical side. Are you dependent to Twitch API? And what if Twitch doesn't allow you anymore to include the streams on Juke? What happens?
Yeah.
Is it a risk? Is it a risk for you or not at all?
I think that is a risk for us, but for our business model, we're not dependent on being the place where you go solely to watch the streams. We've got news, we've got scores, we've got our own original content, we've got stats, we've got gamification and social features coming through the pipeline. But I mean, putting that aside for a second, we've got great relationships with Twitch. I worked there for almost 8 years. We've got great relationships with YouTube. We know the gaming team there very, very well. And generally, we see our platform is actually adding back into the ecosystem and not cannibalizing. We're still allowing those views. Those are monetizable by Twitch when someone's watching an esports broadcast on our platform. Those views count towards their metrics. So I don't want to be misleading and say it's not a potential risk, because it is. I mean, this is part of our platform. We're bringing those streams in, and that is part of our value offering. But I think point A is it's not our entire value offering. It's only one piece of it. And then point B is, we're doing this in a way that we're very cognizant of this risk, and we're making sure that we have great relationships with Twitch and YouTube, and we're actually helping them rather than hurting them.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
I think that's the last question. Yeah.
I think we are out of time, but yeah, very nice to see you again. Thanks very much for the pitch. Excellent pitch. Thank you.
Thanks. Nice to see you again, Matt and Spike, and nice to meet you, Helen.
Lovely to meet you, Ben.
Yes, we can do that. Sorry, we're being spoken to by the voice of the technical gods. I like Juke a lot. I think Ben is clearly knows what he's talking about. I think the team is very good. I'd be interested to know, Matt, what your thoughts were from seeing him pitch now, having seen it, I'm sure, like I have, 6 months ago or so, when he was just starting out.
I think for me, I think he delivered a very, very confident pitch, and yeah, it was my first time meeting him, but I think he delivered it really well. I think my sort of concern in the back of my head is the fans only sites are things that can be integrated into current platforms right now, and from what I understand, that this would be having to drive people to a different platform to amalgamate some of that. So I'd like to see how the business model sort of develops, but it's definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah, I think that 50,000 active readers is already good. That's quite a challenge, because in my personal vision of esports, I think that it's fragmented by nature, and that's very difficult to unify the audience of esports, and that's why nobody did that over the past 20 years. Yahoo tried. A lot of big media company like ESPN tried. In France, there are a lot of media that want to unify the esports content on one portal, one media, but there's no success story. Maybe that's because it's fragmented by nature. It's fragmented into communities. It's fragmented into games, the platform you use to speak with your community. So that's very difficult. That's a very difficult challenge. But nobody except Twitch as a platform, or except Reddit as a very fragmented content platform, find a way to talk as a media to those esports communities. So that's quite a challenge for Ben. Maybe we'll be the one. I don't know.
I think this is the last point that I want to make before we bring in the next founder is, a subscription model is very interesting, but to your point about a fragmented user base, if I'm just a Counter-Strike fan, and I'm paying a certain amount every month, they're not just creating Counter-Strike content. It might be Fall Guys content or Overwatch content or Call of Duty content. So am I getting great value for my subscription if I'm only interested in 1 or 2 games? And what if those 1 or 2 games aren't represented within, behind the pay gate? So, but I think interesting. I think Ben is clearly, knows his stuff. Helen, are you ready to introduce the next founder?
Yeah, I think so. So I think next up we've got 3D Aim Trader. So they're inspiring gamers to the next level in training. So let's hear from Mikkel.
All right. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. And well, Spike, Matthieu, nice to see you again. And Helen, it's a pleasure to meet. And I'll hop right in it if that's okay. All right, cool. So 3D Aim Trainer is, like the name says, a aim training platform, right? So our main focus today is to help gamers to improve their aim. And we do so in a very structured and methodological way. In essence, we apply the logic for any other sport out there and tailor it to esports. So what that means is that we identify, 4 problems that we believe need solving in any sports. The first problem is that, well, you need to understand what skills as a shooter player you need to have. For a striker in a soccer team, it's obvious, right? You need to have good shot accuracy and you need to be fast as hell. But what does that mean for a shooter player, and what does that mean for the different roles people have in teams? It's not easy understanding what skills you need to have. Second, if you want to improve, you need to be able to measure how good you are today to track your performance. And that is also super important. What skills do I need to train further? Where am I good at? Where am I not good at? Third is that, well, you need to be able to improve in a very targeted way. A goalkeeper doesn't go to training practice each and every day to see his team play a match 90 minutes while he stands on the sideline 88 minutes doing nothing. That would be completely ridiculous. Yet when we're talking about a typical shooter player, well, he hops into a match, walks around 90% of the time, hoping he encounters an enemy here and there. And then when he encounters one, he doesn't really know what kind of skill he'll be training. So it depends on the situation, what skill he'll be training. Not targeted at all, yet equally ridiculous, in our opinion, as the example of the goalkeeper. And last but not least, well, you need to be able to compare yourself, to be able to see where you are comparing to your friends, compared to the pro players, to be able to set realistic goals for yourself, to make sure that you keep motivated. Well, and what we did, obviously, otherwise wouldn't be a very good pitch, is we've solved all those issues and created one solution, basically. We created a comprehensive framework of skills that you need to master as a shooter player. We designed specific metrics for each skill to measure your performance and track your improvement. We created more than 140 training levels tailored to the specific needs. And we allow players to compare themselves with each other and to understand their relative skill level, basically, versus peers and pro players. And by giving players access to this platform and by constantly listening to their feedback and constantly challenging ourselves, we stay true to our mission, which is, well, basically inspiring gamers to go next level. Doesn't matter if you're an amateur or a pro, that is what we do. And we've been doing so for 12 months right now. And well, 12 months ago, our platform looked like this. So we had 2 training modes and a weird looking shooting range. And today we can proudly say that we have a highly efficient online data-driven training platform, which is a mouthful, but I wasn't able to cut away a word. So that's what we are today, which is nice. But the real question is, do people care? Obviously, do aim trainers care? And they seem they do, because in 12 months, we actually became the #1 aim trainer out there. Our monthly visitors went from 129,000 to more than 500,000 today. We launched an application from scratch that has received 180,000 downloads in the last month alone, with a 4.7 rating on Google Play. Our monthly training sessions went from 370,000 to more than 3 million on our platform. And actually, our mobile app receives more than 1.5 million training sessions each month. And additionally, we were able to grow the total time spent on our platform with, 1,300% to 11 million minutes. And we did that basically with 0 spend on marketing. So purely organic growth based on product improvement and word of mouth. What's equally important, in our opinion, is that we actually created a company. So we went from a 3-man founders team to an actually 11 talented people pool with top-notch advisors from world best esports teams like Fnatic, former president of Activision, chairman of Turtle Beach, former partner at McKinsey Media, and last but not least, first vice president business and operations at King, which is the King from Candy Crush. Yeah, we believe we haven't scratched the surface yet. In reality, there are actually 806 million PC shooter players today, and we are only targeting 3.3 right now. And if we count in mobile and console as well, we are at 1.7 billion, which is actually a lot more. So in 12 months from now, we want our previous numbers, which we are quite happy with, to look very small again. That is our main challenge. And the way we're going to do that is we will focus on a new part of our strategy, not just being the leading aim trainer, but we will shift from, basically being the reference for shooter players. And the reference for shooter players is that we will allow basically players to compare themselves with their friends and pro players in a fun and engaging way, just like Strava does for runners. We will rank players in an official 3D Aim Trainer ranking, just like the ATP does for tennis players. And we will pinpoint highly talented gems, basically, just like Michelin does for restaurants. And more importantly, we will be a destination for gamers and not just a means to an end. Today, people use the platform to become better at Valorant or CSGO. Tomorrow, they will go to 3D Aim Trainer to show their friends, colleagues, to the world, basically, who they are as a shooter player. And the best part is that it only costs 3.5 million euro to be a part of our journey. And that's it. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mikhail, for that. Okay, you brought it up. 3.5 million euros is a pretty penny. So what are your current income like on the company at the moment, and what do investors get for their 3.5 million?
That's a very good question. Currently, we are not focused on continuous revenue. We are in a process where we test every potential revenue stream, and we confirm that it is something we can monetize in the future. So we've been testing our different pods that are part of our investment memorandum, such as subscription-based stuff, such as in-game advertising. Thanks to Anzu, by the way, who's coming after me, if I'm not mistaken. So we're testing out the different tracks. We're doing direct deals with branded advertisers to see what kind of value they add to the platform. So that's where we are. And we are, in that perspective, successful that each and every revenue stream that we foresee in the future so far has been proven to be a valuable revenue stream. To come to your second part of the question, what do they get for the 3.5 million? They get some shares to an awesome company, but that's not your question, I'm guessing. What we will do with that money is, first and foremost, we're going to expand the team. We are currently 11 people, and we have a very ambitious plan to move towards dedicated product teams for each and every platform that we will support in the future, and have real specialists on the different domains and different challenges that we have. Secondly, we will spend a lot of our advertising budget going towards establishing ourselves as a brand, which means we are not focused too much on direct acquisition of new users, because we believe that by positioning ourselves as the reference for shooter players, we will be able to attract a ton of new people. So our main focus will be on sponsoring events and tournaments, etc., where we can show the value of 3D Aim Trainer, where we can show our statistics in live broadcast, where we can inspire people basically to do equally good as the pro players that they see in those tournaments. So our marketing budgets will be big in that perspective proportionally, but they will not go into consumer acquisition, because that we believe to be able to do through our positioning within the ecosystem. Is that an answer to your question?
Yeah, that's great. One more quick one from me. I noticed that you've only got the Android version at the moment for mobile. Is sort of iPhone version in development, or?
No, yeah, it's actually live already. Sorry for not updating it. We pushed it out 2 weeks ago or something like that. So it's there, and it's very relevant. Yeah, it targets a different segment, as in iPhone users tend to be more like PC users, as in they are very well represented in the Western market, more wealthy markets there, where our Android application is covering a typical different geography compared to the PC market, where we see lots of tractions in the less developed countries, Asia Pacific, Latin America, etc., compared to where our PC market is very focused on North America and Europe in general, basically. So we want to be able to inspire gamers all over the world in the platform that they prefer to use. So obviously, iOS is not a choice. It's something we need to do if we want to hold true to our mission statement.
Fantastic. Matthieu?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Thank you very much, Nicole. I think that we will meet again in September. I hope so.
Yeah.
For further talk. Yeah, one of the first questions is about the monetization. Of course, you said that you are still testing the revenue models that could be implemented in the future. But 3.5 million, is that enough for you to find your business model and to find your break-even point or profitability? Or do you have in mind to raise Series B or Series C and test the market with those 3.5 million? What do we have in mind concerning the monetization and the profitability?
No, it's a good question again, so thank you for that. Well, yes, we plan to be profitable with that 3.5 million euro and the time span we have in mind to cover basically, or the runway we have in mind and the staffing we will put behind it. We have our financial plan laid out to be profitable by 2021, end of 2021, Q4 basically. That being said, in the back of our minds, we are already working on sort of, okay, if this is what we will be able to execute on, what is the next step on top of that? So yes, we have a good plan that makes sense, both from a cost perspective and an income perspective, where this 3.5 million will be suffice. Yeah, we have lots of additional plans that we can add on top, but therefore we again will require more investments basically. But currently it is not our ambition to execute those. We start with securing this round, make sure that the groundwork is laid for executing our plan, and when we feel confident that this plan will be executed accordingly and it makes sense, then we can again shift into a different gear or clutch, pun intended, and basically go one a bit faster than we intend to do right now.
And second question, what about the exit perspectives for an investor that enter in your company today, in terms of liquidity terms and acquire? I think that you already have in mind some possible acquisition of your company.
Yep.
Well, what's your thought about that?
Absolutely. I mean, there are different. The light pops back on. So a light bulb moment. There are different types of companies that we see as potential exit companies. On the one hand, you have fairly obvious ones, which are companies who are seeking to create a direct-to-consumer relationship where they are lacking it today. Examples are, for example, hardware manufacturers like Razer, Turtle Beach, and other types of companies, HyperX. They all need to create, through influencers, etc., some kind of brand recognition, but they can't pull people in. They don't have a direct-to-consumer relation. Having a super valuable product that proves what they are doing makes total sense for them to have in their portfolio. If they can bring in more than 500,000, and obviously it's on our ambition to keep it at 500,000, but 500,000 dedicated users that are interested in hardcore gaming, if you can establish a direct relationship with them each month, I can't imagine it not being very valuable to them. I think that is the one thing that they're missing. Secondly, you have esports teams who are more than esports teams today as well. And I know most of the esports teams are not really profitable, but that doesn't mean that the investors behind them don't believe in the bigger picture that those esports teams tell to them as well. esports teams, the same as hardware manufacturers. They are also looking to establish a direct connection and able to sell more of the sort of brand value that they are putting up between what the team does and all the other stuff. You have fashion going on there, you have influencers, you have hardware manufacturers. I mean, esports teams are basically lifestyle brands. I mean, the very ambitious one, and they also require this direct to consumer relation. And then there is the very performance oriented brands, like for example Nike. I think Nike is a good example there. I mean, what Nike does is I think their mission statement is also something with leveling up each and every athlete. And an athlete is a person who has a body, which is basically every person on earth. Well, what they do is they want to provide the best way for people to shine in whatever domain they want to shine in. They deliver high quality apparel basically to be able to shine, but they also provide training applications in different ways. They buy stuff, for example, for runners that's super successful. I imagine them buying Strava at some point in time anyway. And in that perspective, esports is, I mean, the biggest sport coming up there right now. So a company that really is performance oriented, I mean, could have a very, very high interest in, again, acquiring a direct to consumer company like ourselves. And then there are also media companies and betting companies and a bunch of others, but I guess I'll wrap it up right here. We can talk more about that at a later stage.
And Spike?
I'm a little bit wary of time, so I'm going to hold my questions. But thank you. I'm sure we've spoken quite recently anyway, so I think you've got an idea on my thoughts and the things that are brought up at the time. But thank you very much.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure being able to talk to you guys, and I hope I'll be able to talk to you after this event as well.
Absolutely. Lovely to meet you, Mikhail. So what did you guys think?
Yeah, I really like what they did. I played. I tried to improve my skills, and so it works. And they have a great audience. But it's really interesting to hear that the exit perspectives are not linked to his business capabilities, but just to the audience that can raise. And Logitech, they just launched some kind of similar platform very recently. They did it internally. So there is an interest of the market in catching those communities with some tools that create values with an exchange of values. So that this is smart, but this will be very, very difficult to monetize. And that's the tricky part of the story of 3D and trainer. Yeah, very hard. I don't believe that players are ready to pay to get access to a training platform like this. They can have it for free in game, and maybe, I don't know, in a future where their technology is linked to performance centers, for example, where people go to train with people around them, like physical coach. Maybe there's a way to monetize it physically. I really believe in performance centers where you learn to play or to improve your skills. But fully online, that's a very, very big challenge.
Yeah, that was what was going through my head. So I noticed the hesitation to sort of share sort of figures on income and even the income streams that they may have tested, because I mean, they've got great user numbers, but monetizing those user numbers will be a different question for the company. So it'd be interesting to see how they work on that challenge. Whether they make a business model out of it.
Yeah,
I think that, excuse me.
No, so I agree. I think I think the addressable market is actually probably smaller than they think it is, of people that actually want to really practice the very finite skill of flicking or tracking, depending on the specific game. You could go in, if you're a Call of Duty player, you could just play multiplayer and keep playing that and practice the same thing in a more fun setting. If you're a Counter-Strike player, you can jump on and play an aim map with 24 other people to your heart's content. So again, I think there is a market. I think there is a market that will monetize, but I think that's a very, very small market of very dedicated, very serious and aspirational players. And that's actually why I like the Android build so much, because it opens up Southeast Asia, India markets where playing games like mobile PUBG or mobile Call of Duty is very aspirational. It is an opportunity to change people's lives, and those are the sort of people that might really dedicate to practicing those finite skills. But are they going to monetize? Probably not.
Fab, thanks guys. So I think the next team that we've got are just being prepped, and it's play. So
is paper there? Have you got a printout, Helen? That's old school. I like it.
Yes, paper. I'm very much on the digital. Couldn't get my webcam to work, but I can get my PDF. Hi, Kim.
Hi, guys.
Hi,
nice to meet you.
Hi, Kim.
When you're ready.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Should I just jump in?
Mm-hmm.
I will do that. Okay. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me yapping about Xplayn, especially after the competition I just saw. Xplayn was started because we want to solve a simple problem. Discovery of esports gear for personal use. And for personal use, we mean a mouse, a keyboard, a headset, and a mousepad. Those are the things that basically enable you to interact precisely and accurately with your computer. And finding what's the best stuff has over the years grown increasingly difficult. The industry uses terms like hyper rapid fire or ultra spooling, and if you don't really know what that means, it's hard to find out if that's the best gear, especially because every manufacturer has a tendency to invent their own terms, so there's no uniformity across the industry. And to solve that, we think that the time is right. First of all, because esports, as you know, is absolutely transcending into sort of the early majority on the bell curve, but also because we're in a unfortunate situation that we have a worldwide pandemic that has absolutely changed behavior and sort of instituted a new normal in many ways. And in one of those ways is just that there will be much more e-commerce happening. We've already seen that across the board, basically, metrics for Amazon and other e-commerce platforms have gone through the roof. And we think we are coming out at a time where the timing has never been better for a product like this. You can say that since gaming mice keep sort of increasing in sales year over year, it has never been better. But COVID has for sure created a situation that we think we're well equipped to take care of. And how do we do that? We do that by introducing basically the IMDb ratings for gaming gear, something that doesn't exist right now. Reviews are fragmented. You can find reviews on PC Gamer, on Tom's Hardware, on multiple sites across the internet, but that's one individual reviewing one product based on his subjective hand size, his own experience, what kind of games he plays. We want to aggregate that and combine all that down to one uniform gold standard ranking for the industry. The X score. This is what this product is worth. We do that through a community. So basically, we compile players and we aggregate their data. We do that in a tailor-made experience that's created ground up for PC gaming and not as an e-commerce platform that serves every different type of product you can sell in the world. So for instance, we have hand sizes for mice. We have sizes for keyboards and mousepads as well. You can search products based on are pro gamers using this when they play Fortnite or if they play Counter-Strike, and you can search this after a ranking. We've made it easy to do tech specs for the products. You just have a mouse over on these cards and we will show you what the tech specs are. Compare that to what is predominantly the biggest product discovery experience in esports right now, which is Amazon, where manufacturers will often try to shoehorn in tech specs into the title of the product. There are 50,000 gaming mice on Amazon. 11.2% of them have 4.5 stars or higher in rating. So the discovery, how do you figure out which one of these mice are best when they're so closely ranked? that's the one of the problems that we think Xplayn does a good job at solving. The esports market, I don't want to need to go through this, but I will mention one thing. It's very rare to find an esports project that actually sort of goes across communities. But the one thing that every PC gamer in the world has in common is that they need a mouse and a keyboard to interact with the computer and perform. So we think that by introducing an esports ranking for peripherals, that we will not only have a product that will appeal to the esports enthusiast market, but over time also will trickle down. Like, even if you don't think that esports is particularly interesting to you as a casual gamer, you understand and recognize the expertise that comes from people who play with gear for a living. And for that standard, we think that we will have, like, by far the best product in the market. Our initial audience is, of course, we go after esports enthusiasts, both because they spend a tremendous amount of money on peripherals, but also because they just have a much higher conversion rate for peripherals. They buy a lot more. They really care about stuff that can improve them, especially if they end up having a keyboard and a mouse they don't particularly like using. The unique selling proposition of Xplayn is really the X-score, like the center point of everything that we do. That's based on, again, as I said, a data aggregation. And like I see, I'm totally out of time. Oops. I got carried away. Well, thank you for letting me pitch.
Did you have much more that you wanted to say, Kim?
No, but I could probably go on for another 3 minutes, and that would be unfair to the other competitors.
Going over.
Okay, well, I mean, let's get stuck into the questions then, Kim.
Yeah.
So am I thinking this is kind of like a product comparison website?
Yes.
Or is it ranking that can be used in something like Amazon? Can you export your rankings to other websites?
So it is definitely a product comparison website, even to the point where when you have equipped your gear on your user profile and you browse the website, like in Diablo or other games where there are stats on gear, we will actually compare the stats of your gear to the gear that you're looking at in real time, so you can see that your mouse is maybe more comfortable or scores higher in performance or in some other ranking. And yes, we absolutely would like to have, like, this X-score used. We have talked to e-commerce websites who have been expressing interest in displaying, like, the X-score next to the product on their website. So that's absolutely something that we see as both a marketing tool and as an awareness tool in general.
Okay, but right now, income stream comes from click through into buying the products, and you getting a percentage, or how are you?
I'm sorry, I got a terrible echo. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, right now, do you click through and purchase from your website? Is that how you're creating revenue? Do you get a percentage of the sale, or what's the metrics for your income?
Yes, we have two sources of income. One is pure affiliate marketing. We have a buy button that is deeply linked into Amazon. So when you find a product on Xplayn, you just click on the buy button and you basically get the same buying experience that you already prefer as an Amazon Prime customer. Another revenue stream would be business-to-business data. Websites that have, like, a model like this would be wirecutter.com, for instance. They do, like, deep editorial reviews and basically offer a better product discovery than Amazon, but the same product purchasing experience as Amazon.
And so the cost of the purchase for the user, you're taking them to Amazon as an affiliate, or are you finding them the best price as well?
We are finding the best price by default, as in, like, we list the current price for Amazon. They have different prices. We list the cheapest one. We will be adding more affiliate partners to the system apart from Amazon, and by default, then the buy button will display the lowest possible market price.
What if the affiliate fee is higher with Amazon? How does that affect your business model if you're sending people to purchase where you're making less money? How do you weight that?
I don't. I totally leave that up to the customer. It's not up to our decision to try to steer that. And the customer will choose, like, whatever he wants anyway. If you have a Prime membership, you're not going to buy a product on Newegg. You are going to want to have that product on through your Prime membership.
what's the stage of the business at the moment? How many users have you got on Xplayn? How many products are being sold via your portal at the moment?
So we have been live for 3 months now. We have about 6.7 thousand users right now. Our revenue this year has been $13,000. About I think 500, 600 of that came from affiliate sales. What was the other thing you asked about?
Yeah, asking how. Yeah, so you said 6,500 users, and that's equated to $13,000 of revenue. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so, what percentage of those 6,500 users have become purchasing users? How many of them?
But so they've purchased a wide variety of things across 7 different Amazon platforms. But it's actually, at this point in time, we're not really, and it's a terrible thing to say to potential investors, we're not really focused on the revenue at this point in time, more or less a sort of like, we believe that the product we're building converts. But what's really interesting for us is the data that we get from the customers that we can use to X-score the products. We need to reach a critical mass for having data to make sure that we evaluate these products like fairly on a data level, and at that point in time, our conversion, we believe, will start increasing.
But you don't think your conversion rate is good data to track?
No, of course, absolutely. You misunderstood me.
I'm asking you if you know what that conversion rate is currently.
Yes. Hang on, let me just. 2.77 right now.
And understood. I'm being told that I did want to ask you some more. I apologize, but I've just been told that we've run out of time. Matt, sorry about that. Have you got anything pressing or not?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Kim for what he did over the last 20 years in esports and for the communities and everything. So really, that's a chance to talk to you today. And I'm pretty sure that your X-score will be some kind of a future label for the entire industry. And maybe you have in mind to create new product based on X-score in the future.
Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, that's fine for me.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
It's a shame we didn't get more time actually, because I wanted to know how he was going to build and grow, and what he needed money for, and how that would impact his business. But
yeah, because I mean they're asking small capital raise, and they've obviously got quite. Looking at the figures, they've got quite a high run rate. So I could only see that the 200,000 would last them another sort of 4 months of operations. So it'd be interesting to kind of see more from him. There's definitely one to follow up on, I think.
Right, I think we've got 13 minutes or so. So let's crack on, Helen.
Yeah, okay, so we've got Anzu coming up. I think these are our last pitch of the day. So let's Oh, okay. Well, we've got more time to chat.
So Matt, you're a fan of Xplayn, is that right? The last business. You're a fan of Xplayn? You think that's got legs?
Yeah, I'm first a fan of Kim, of course, and I don't know exactly what he has in mind concerning the B2B data business, but I'm pretty sure that this is deep inside the project to be able to define what makes a good gear, a good keyboard, a good mouse, and to sell those data to the industry. That's smart. And I see more like a non-profit organization around the media, something that could provide to the community information for free. Even the affiliation, it's so small as a business, so it makes no sense to invest on that. But to be able to create a label that could be used by the entire industry is something that could be very strong. That's what I like.
Certainly. Okay. Are we ready?
To improve the gears, in fact, because we are still playing with mouse and keyboards that has been invented 70 years ago, so it has to be renewed.
Question to you, Matt: is there much you can do to a mouse that isn't marketing? Is there
maybe?
the difference between a Babolat or a head tennis racket these days? What's the difference between Adidas and Nike running shoes? Surely it's a lot of it's marketing, right?
Yeah, because it's pretty simple to interact with the ball, but interacting with the game is rich, and so you can imagine a lot of devices that could renew esports and the way you play, the way you perform. So that's something I believe in.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh, here we are.
Hello.
Hi.
Can't wait till we get back to physical conference.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
That what I did.
You're live. Off you go.
You can start if you want.
I don't think you can hear us. Yes, of course, you.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Great to be here. I was multitasking with two screens. I wasn't sure if you're speaking with me.
Yeah, please. Off you go.
Okay, so let's start. Give me 5 seconds to organize it here. Perfect. So nice to meet you all. I'm Itamar, the founder and the CEO of Anzu, and basically what we're bringing is native, authentic advertising into the gaming and esport world. As you can see here in this example, we're bringing this real-world experiences of branded content into the game in a very natural way. And maybe a few words about gaming. So, gaming has grown in the last years and in a massive way. Now gaming provides a really strong opportunity for brands to communicate with audiences, not only because of the volumes of how many people play game, but also from the perception of gaming is becoming a social network. Gaming is a pop culture, this 3D world environment that has already rich graphics and a lot of other reasons that we can elaborate. And today the ways to advertising games are pretty naive. So there's hard-coded deals. If you play FIFA, you see banners on the side of the game, but this for the 2 years, for the whole cycle of the game, this cannot change. It cannot be targeted per person. It cannot change dynamically. There is no analytics. That's very naive, and very, very few games and brands can actually do it. So most of the games don't basically monetize today. And the other option is pop-ups and annoying ads as what we see in mobile. We want to bring this, authentic advertising that is also scalable for brands and makes sense for games that, respect the gamers and respect the gameplay. So this is basically us in Anzu, and this is how ad experiences look in our platform. And on the one side, it brings all the advertising standards, like the integration to Google, to the analytics, to the way brands measure campaigns. But then it's aligned for console games, AAA games, and what's important for them in choosing advertising solutions. So a bit of where we stand today. We already work with something like 60 games. We signed with 12 games, an exclusive deal to sell them basically sell their inventory to brands. We already serve ads to more than 100 million gamers a month and more than 2 billion impressions a month across all game platform and all game genres. A bit about the team. So I'm Itamar. I come from an advertising background. My co-founders comes from a gaming and tech background. And we're backed by some of the leading companies in the space. WPP, the biggest advertising group in the world. Bitcraft, which is a big esport gaming fund. And Axel Springer, a big media group in Europe. So how does this actually work? We have a technology that integrates into the game developer. Each game, we support all the game engines. Xbox, so all the game platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, mobile, cloud gaming, all the game engines, Unity, Unreal, custom engine, and then basically in an automatic way inject the branded content coming from the media buying platforms. And of course, a big part of our offering is esport and streaming, because a lot of the games we work with have streamers that broadcast themselves playing the games and have esport tournaments. So now we can bring those in-game advertising experiences into the stream and into the competitions, and offer brands a very authentic way to sponsor the esport tournaments. Our edge is basically we're the only company in the world providing advertising on console, the only company in the world that has a deal with Xbox for advertising, and the only company in the world that has this analytics to give confidence around the media value and the opportunity here. Where we work with some of the leading brands and games, like Ubisoft, like PepsiCo. And here's an example from Ubisoft, from Trackmania, one of the games we work with, a AAA game that basically, for the first time ever, sells advertising in basically in a programmatic way. There's this hard to reach audiences is very attractive for brands. And just maybe like to show from a brand perspective how this can look like. So we offer brands this, like very strong ad exposure and metrics, but also like a brand lift. So actually to understand the value from like what's the boost in brand affinity from advertising in those games. And of course, a very brand safe environment, and like an environment that basically with no fraud that he will be very comfortable to advertise in. And of course, all of this is basically verified by third-party vendors to give brands more confidence. So basically what we are about is this ad marketplace for game developers to have a new business model, with a lot of games moving from paid games and like on console to free-to-play games, with the rise of multiplayer and what's happening on the esports side. And then for brands, we offer a new advertising category to reach this this gamer community in a way that respects them and that the community accepts it. And that's basically what we do. So I would love to answer your questions.
Cool. Matthieu, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a huge project, and that's very impressive. And so I know the Trackmania story and what they did 15 years ago with Massive. I don't know if you remembered, but they tried to monetize the first Trackmania ESWC version, the first free-to-play, with a media company. And in fact, the market wasn't ready. So is that a time to market question? Because this is obvious that that kind of system should exist. But are the brands ready to invest in games? And what is your sales strategy for that? How do you organize the sales?
Sure. So I mean, Massive and Double Fusion and IGA, there were a lot of companies in the last 10 years that tried to crack in-game advertising. And there's two reasons why we believe it was too early when they tried to do it, and why now this is the time. I mean, first, programmatic advertising wasn't available back in the days. Now it's all automatic. I'm connected to Google. I'm connecting to all the platforms where the brands buy media. So 2 clicks of a button with the creatives they already have, and they can go live. The manual was so processed back in the days, it was hard to scale it, number one. Number two, ad verification and ad viewability and analytics standards in advertising with companies like Comscore and Oracle that now give brands confidence to value ad exposure. Wasn't available back in the day. So in the past, it was seen like as a sponsorship one-time campaign, versus now it's part of the ongoing activity. So that's a second reason. Third reason, the gaming market is much bigger. The rise of esports, of course, helps a lot, because back in the Massive days, selling discs for $40 to $60 was a very common business model. Today we see a decrease in that, and game developers are shifting to free-to-play, and they need a new way to monetize that. But I think above all those reasons, and of course we can speak about connectivity of the devices and about the Unreal game engine, which automates the process for the games. I think the main reason is the perception of the gamer, from like a geek locked in his basement to this pop culture, pop phenomena that we see today. And COVID also really had a strong impact on that. And last thing, WPP, the biggest advertising group in the world, they manage $50 billion in media a year. 70% of the Fortune 500 brands decided to invest in us as a signal for they see this as something that is ready for the brands. About the selling points, it's the combination of the voice, number one, the engagement level on gaming, the harder to reach audiences of people that watch less TV and spend more time in Netflix where there's no advertising model, and the fact that it's easy to run a campaign and to see the value, like to measure it.
Spike?
I think it seems like you've made some pretty good progress so far. So congratulations there.
Thank you.
What is the I think the question I have is, what have you done any testing on the appetite from the consumers to see sort of advertising in games? How much advertising is appropriate, or are you just prioritizing the wishes of the sponsors and the brands?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there's like a gentle balance between the gamer community and the artwork of the game versus the brands that want to put their exposure there, and we're very sensitive to both sides. I mean, we work with companies like Kantar and Nielsen and Comscore around research and understanding the feedback from the community, understanding what's the best way to do this from a content perspective, frequency perspective, creative perspective. There's a lot of research that we have around that the community prefers real brands versus fake ads that we see today in most of the bigger games. And in general, so far the feedback is positive. And part of the vision here is to shift the business model from making the games to cost $60 to show the game that they can count on our business model and make the games cheaper.
Yeah, understood. We've run out of time, unfortunately. I would have loved to ask you some more questions, but it sounds like you've made some pretty good progress already. Can you share how much revenue you brought in this year?
Sure. So, I mean, we booked $1 million in campaigns so far. Until recently, it was mainly around, smaller pilots and mobile games. And now that we went live with Ubisoft and we signed with 16 console games and exclusive deals, like games like Big Ben Interactive and Lion Castle and bigger games. So now this is growing. So most of the revenues come from the last month. So now it's starting to grow much, much faster. And end of the year, we're looking at having $300 million of exclusive inventory from console games that cost between $20 to $60 and never showed ads. So from the beginning of the year, we're really looking to scale the platform after finishing the test with the brands and after having enough volumes and very meaningful games to offer.
Fantastic. And I guess
so I just hear, I cannot hear because I hear it on two different devices, on two different screens now.
Helen, you broke up for me a bit. I apologize. But quickly before you leave, can you just tell us how much you're raising, please?
How much money? So sorry, I can't hear you because I hear it like on two different screens. So how much money we raised so far? What's our next plans of raising? If I understood you correctly.
Yeah. What's your next plan to raise? How much are you raising now?
Sure. So we raised $8 million up to date. It was a seed round and a Series A round. Bitcraft, which is an esports fund, is our lead investor. And we're looking to do a $20 million Series B in Q4.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That was a good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. What happens now, Helen? Have we got to decide?
I don't know. I'm waiting for the voice of God.
Oh well, we've heard from that. We've got a quick roundup. So, I guess lots of interesting stuff, different stages, and different levels of progress. But I think what was very promising is clearly a lot of creativity and a lot of ingenuity in the industry. And I think we saw 4 very, very capable companies.
Absolutely. And I think they all gave like very good sort of presentations, all came across well, clearly thought things out and had sort of their finances in mind and where they're going. It's going to be interesting. There's quite a lot of potential that we saw. It's going to be fun to decide between the companies.
Yeah. All right.
How do we do that?
Closing thoughts?
No, super happy to see that those companies are raising a second and a third round of fund. It is the sign of a maturity of the ecosystem. This is not just early stage project, but real companies making revenues, and so that's a satisfaction, in fact.
Absolutely. Well, I think they've made our decision very, very tough. So we're going to have to go away and think about it. We will let them know accordingly.
Very good.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. And I hope to see you guys soon.